Greetings, 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 greetings. Grand rising, grand rising, grand rising lineage. What's going on, man? This is your brother Chief with another video. I'm gonna give everybody a little bit of time to get tuned into this build because we are going to cover a lot today. Let me make sure I have audio on Facebook. Let me make sure I have audio on Facebook. A little bit of time to. All right, so we got audio on Facebook, and we're about to get into this. First off, I definitely want to acknowledge and give thanks to our ancestors. All right, honor the righteous ones and sending much love and positive vibration and energy to the unrighteous ones. You know what I mean? Because they both had to play a role in this physical manifestation. You know what I mean? The yin and the yang, the good and the bad, the good and the ugly. You know how it is. All right, so wanted to do that. For those of you tuning into the live, do me a favor, get in the comment and let me know exactly where you at, and I will give you a shout out. All right. But if you have a pen, if you have a pad, get it out, take some notes, or you could always go back and rewind the video and do your own due diligence. Do me a favor, please. Don't believe anything that I say in this video. Do not believe anything that I say in this video or any other video, because the mere fact that I'm asking you to believe me, then I'm lying to you, because in the word believe is the word lie. So therefore, I personally do not deal with belief systems. I challenge every belief system because they are lies. Okay, I deal with facts, the knowing. If I don't know, I'm going to inquire, I'm going to study, I'm going to search, then I'm going to research, then I'm going to insert. All right, then I will come give the information. So with that being said, we are at a point in our lives, especially as the original indigenous peoples of the Americas, we are faced with a certain conundrum right now, and a lot of us may not see how it's going to affect us directly or even indirectly, because we are totally oblivious as to what's going on for many reasons. People are distracted. All right, people choose to remain distracted. People, all they want to do is smoke, drink, and have a good time and turn up, and it's crazy, right? But our people don't realize those are vices that was given to our people. Okay, it was vices that was given to our people, for self-destruction. All right, and our lives are being governed by foreign entities, by foreign occupiers on our natural land. And many of us don't see a problem. In fact, the majority of our people don't see a problem with it because they don't see their attachment to the land, because they were taught otherwise, right? And for those of us who know, we are still distracted because we are so separated. You know what I'm saying? We don't come together. We don't build. We don't practice any type of group economics. So we are literally just, sheep waiting to be slaughtered. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think it's going to happen to that extent. However, we don't have to wait until our backs are totally not just against the wall, but we are on our backs on the floor, looking up, begging for our lives. Why does it always have to be that extreme for us to do something? There's such a thing, a saying called proactive. We need to be proactive opposed to be reactive. You know what I mean? And our entire existence, it has always been reactive, always reacting to something when something happens to us, opposed to being proactive like every other ethnic group. Be proactive, take stands, do things now, and put things in place just in case something happens. You see, we don't do that. Now, people they'll have insurance for their cars, because not that they plan to get into a car accident. No, people don't get insurance because they plan on getting into a car accident. People get insurance, just in case. So therefore, you are being proactive. You feel me? People don't get house insurance because they want their house to be damaged by a storm or fire. No, they don't do that. They get it just in case. You don't get health insurance because you want to get sick. You don't do that. You get health insurance just in case. All right. But it has become a culture with our people that everything else becomes secondary. Our identity, our nationality, our birthright. We don't see that as important. Okay? We don't see that as important. And to me, that's crazy. That should be the fundamental concern. All right? That should be our number one priority, to regain our birthright. Because once we regain our birthright, it comes with everything else. It brings back the abundance. It brings back the sovereignty that we had before these colonizers came to our land. Now, although the colonizers, they're all actors. First things first, all right? They're all actors. And the current actors that we have right now, they are in the guise of the pale skinned man and woman, all right? But don't be deceived. The original colonizer were people who look just like us, and they're still in play. Now, isn't it quite strange, and to a certain extent, that it's ironic that during political campaigns or presidential campaigns, you would see the Black caucus heavily involved, whether it's Democrat or Republican, they would be in the back. Oh, well, we support this and we support. Why haven't we seen them with during this election or even the one prior? We started to see them slowly fade away. Now, I did a video on that, so I'm not going to get into all of that right now. You feel me? But I'm here to open up your mind, and not just to open up your mind, because I want to show you how to do more than just thinking. I want to ignite you so that to step up and take some action, some form of responsibility for your own life. If not for you, for your children, their children, the next 7 to 10, 14 generations, because every other ethnic group focuses on that. But most of us are taught to focus on momentary things. Okay? The immediate gratification. Well, you know what? If it's not going to affect me, then I'm not going to worry about the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 generations. That's what we are being taught. You know what I'm saying? So we are always 10 steps behind. We are always catching up. And to me, that's a problem. Now, is that the purpose of this video? No, this is kind of like a prelude to where I'm going, because I'm going to go deep in this video. Now, with that being said, I have already done videos on that years ago. I mean, I taught you guys about, Americo Liberia, or Americo Liberia, whichever way you want to call it, because they have different names for it. But basically, we go back to the 1800s when the Colonization Society took indigenous Americans all over the Americas and sent them into Africa. They send them to the Congo. They send them to Liberia. They send them to Sierra Leone. Big up yourself, big chief. All right? You know what I'm saying? So I literally, about 4 or 5 years ago, I taught you about that. I went in detail and broke all of this down to you. But I have to revisit that information again. All right? Because the majority of our people are indoctrinated. And how does indoctrination become a tool? And how is it so successful? Through repetition. You see, when they put you in a school or a class, why do you think it's called class? Why do you think it's called school? It's all classism. It's all classism. And they put you in a class, all right, so that you remain in a class. Now, well, Chief, what are you talking about? The schooling system is what we call a class system. And then it is separated, to me, with two different dynamics. The first one is Go to school, get good grades, and get a good job. Job and Job is the same thing. Job and Job is the same thing. What does Job mean? Job means persecution, to be persecuted. So your entire life you were taught to be persecuted by getting a job. Now, mind you, I'm not knocking anybody with a job because that's what we were taught. All right. So I'm not knocking you because we have to, is the survival game. So we're playing the survival game right now. So it is what it is. So please do not take that as me knocking you. No. By all means, if you have a job, keep your job. You got to take care of your family. You got to take care of your children. You have a livelihood to deal with. But it's called livelihood and not survivalhood. So therefore, you are supposed to be living and not surviving. But that's another video. I just wanted to mention that. All right. But with that being said, the two dynamics of the class system when in regards to education, number one, go to school, get good grades, and get a good job in a perpetual state of persecution. Because why? You are taught that you will retire, okay, at the age of 65, which most people, 95% of the population, cannot do. So senior citizens have to go back and get some type of part-time job just to make it. But when you really truly think of the word retire, that's two words. It's a compound word. The first part of the word, it has a prefix, and the prefix is re. Anytime you put re in front of any word, it means to do it again. And what is the other word, the suffix of the word retire? It's tire, tired. So your entire life you are working, jobbing, being persecuted, and you are tired. And when you get to 65, it's reverse psychology. When you think you are actually taking a break, you know what? It's time to enjoy my life. No, they're telling you to retired. Go back and do it again and get tired again. Now, some people may say, Chief, yeah, that sounds crazy. Oh, no, that's not what it is. But let me tell you, that's exactly what it is. You see, they have to tell you what it is. But it's up to you to subject yourself to that contract. Everything is a contract. Retirement is a contract. Every time you go to a job, you fill out that application, it's a contract. The birth certificate it's all contracts. Everything is a contract. I mean, I could even take it further. Before we manifested here in the flesh, in the spiritual realm, we have spiritual contracts. You signed a contract to go through everything that you're going through right now. You just can't remember. But it's indeed a fact. So that is one dynamic of the educational system. Go to school, get good grades, and get good jobs. And then the other one is go to school. You don't really have to focus on good grades. However, own a business. So you see, the upper successful people of society, they teach their children to open up businesses, become entrepreneurs. Okay, invest in CDs, in trust funds, and all these different stocks and bonds and all these different things. Now, why is all this important? All this is important because indoctrination it happens through repetition. So when you're put in that class and every day it's been bombarded into your children's head, they have to get good jobs. They have to learn just to get good jobs to become employees opposed to bosses. Then the playing field is never going to be the same. Okay, one will always be a slave and one will always be a master. Period. Okay? And this whole system didn't start with the pale man. No, the pale man did not enslave nobody through physical force. No. It's an illusion, man. That never happened. The game was given to them. Okay? And they mastered the game on paper. They were the best at paper genocide. You feel me? Not the physical wars. They lost every physical war that was fought with our indigenous ancestors on this land. What does that have to do with colonizers and imported immigrants? Now we are going to get into the meat and potatoes, if I may, even if I don't eat meat. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to get into the main ingredients, let me put it that way, of this lesson and this build. All right. And what prompted me to do this video is because of a story that I read. It came across my phone, because, with your phone, once you turn on your phone, whether it's Yahoo or whatever, Google, they always have this news things that always pop up first. So one of them caught my attention. All right. And Kick Rocks, what's going on? Golden, Goddess Empress Everlasting Water was good. Nature, what is that? Nature Gazer, attacked on. What's going on? Who do we have on Facebook? We have Reggie, what's up? We have Ebony, what's going on? We have Lisa, what's going on? And for those of you that are silent in the background, I'm sending much love and positive vibes and beautiful energy to you as well. All right. Now, like I said, what prompted me to do this build because it was overdue. All right. And of course, I taught you about Liberia over 5 years ago. I did videos on that, broke that down to a T, but it's relevant into this time. Chief Blackbird White Tip was going on. All right. So what prompted me to do the video was an article where I seen that a gentleman, okay, I'll share the info on the screen and then we'll get into all of that. Well, kind of like, let me just give you a synopsis of what prompted me to do the video. So he was born in St. Martin. Okay, now St. Martin is one of the islands in the Caribbean, right? But it's in North America. St. Martin is divided into two parts. It has the French part and it has the Dutch. So once you see, again, we are seeing that colonization is still in play, big time, even right here in the US. But most people are just too oblivious to the fact they can't see it because they are too distracted, right? So with that being said, he was born in St. Martin, but he came to New York. He came into the United States at the age of 5. All right. His parents were not from St. Martin. His parents are of Haitian descent. So they are Taino. Okay. Taino, Arawak. Bottom line is they are indigenous to the Americas. Okay. Now, just like every other so-called young black child in the United States, our children go through, the temptations of living within a low vibrational society. Well, Chief, what do you mean by this? I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean. Exposed to drugs, exposed to violence, exposed to guns, exposed to, all the foods that are killer foods. We are exposed to all of those things. All right. The type of education that teach you how to be a slave. That's what we are exposed to. So he became a victim of that. And then he got involved with drugs and selling drugs. Now, mind you, not killing anybody. Okay. Not no gun possession, just drug use and peddling drugs. All right. He got arrested. All right. Now, mind you, the brother is a New Yorker because he got, he became I wouldn't say a citizen, but he became permanent residence, whatever the case is. Bottom line is he was not an illegal alien, put it that way, right? Based on what I heard in the story and when I read it. So in 2021, okay, in 2021, Joe Biden, of course, the same thing that Trump is doing, everybody is debating about so-called illegal immigrants, sending them back where they came from. Joe Biden had already put that in play. You see, people don't realize that the left wing and the right wing is the same bird. The only difference is Trump is a little more, a little more flamboyant, with his approach. All right. Trump is a little more outspoken. Trump will let you know, hey, listen, I don't like you. I'm your enemy. Opposed to Biden. And the truth of the matter is, I respect Trump more than I respect any one of them because why? Trump say exactly what's on his mind. So Trump is doing what all of them want to do, okay, or planned on doing. No, I don't support any of them because they are not my presidents. You feel me? I will never subject myself to any foreign entity. I will not subject myself to any immigrant, or occupying entity. That's just me, though. You feel me? So, with that being said, we are going to get in. I just give you like a premise of what we are going to read about the gentleman. Now, a lot of you, and when I say a lot of you, I'm talking about whether you are from, the Caribbean, whether you're from South America, whether you're from Central America, whether you're from Canada, it doesn't matter. So I'm making a general statement here. But a lot of you so-called black people, because they call us black all over the Americas, not just here in the US. Okay? And in the US, they may say African American, but in the Caribbean, they call a lot of our people Caribbean African or African Caribbean. So it's the same game that's being played, but it's divide and conquer. You feel me? And we fell for the trick. So we think we're different people. We think we're different people. When the truth of the matter is, New Yorkers, an indigenous New Yorker was different from an indigenous Californian, an indigenous someone from Illinois, an indigenous individual from Georgia, an indigenous individual from Alabama, because they were different countries. And even in California alone, they spoke over 1,000 dialects. So does that mean that person from California was different from somebody from New York because they spoke a different dialect or a different language, but they were indigenous? Does it take away the fact that they were still Americans? Indigenous, original Americans? No. But you see, we here fighting each other. Oh, well, you're not from the United States, so, y'all got to stop that nonsense, man. You got to stop. Because if you truly know the history of our people, you'll realize that we had empires all over this place and we intermingled with each other. Of course, you're always going to have your little rivals, your little rivalry. That's part of life, right? But on a whole, we were a united people and we had respect for each other. We had code ethics. Okay? So now we have these pale Europeans on our land determining who is an American and who's not. And when I say American, they're talking about the United States. The United States is not America. But we'll go back to Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary in a few minutes. And we'll break a couple of things down, which I have shown in many videos, and many of you have shared that yourselves. So I'm not going to say I'm the only one doing that, right? But I promise you, I'm one of the only ones that break things down the way that I do and in such detail. I don't see nobody else doing it, all right? But let's get into this situation here with this young gentleman, because I have a lot to say, all right? I have a lot to say. This is what we're going to do. Let me share the first slide. Okay. First things first. And this is from Yahoo News. Like I said, it came up on my phone, and just the title in itself. All right. The title in itself caught my attention. So let the screen populate and we're going to get into this. All right. Now, of course, by all means, all of this here is for knowledge purposes. It's for knowledge purposes. Don't believe anything that I say. If I ask you to believe me, then I'm lying to you. So please do not believe anything that I say. It is strictly for knowledge purposes, and everything I say is alleged because I know how they do. All right? Just making my disclaimer. Let us read this. NY man deported to Haiti, and he asked, Hunter Biden's pardon gave him a second chance. Where is mine? Now, we'll get into Hunter Biden soon. Right, but we're gonna get into this indigenous brother, and that was December 2024. So that literally happened. That happened, just recently. Okay, so let us read a little bit. His name is Paul Perilous, the Rockland County man deported to Haiti, even though he is not a Haitian citizen. Has it yet another wall in his attempt to return to the U.S. where he had lived since he was at the age of 5 years old. Now, mind you, he got deported to Haiti, and he wasn't Haitian. Well, Chief, where are you going with this? because I heard you talk about America, Liberia, and Liberia. We are going to get into that. I'm going to show you the comparison, because the same thing they did in 1820, they took American well, I don't like using the word aboriginals, but original indigenous Americans, and send them to Liberia to create the Liberia colony. But they were not Africans. So you see, history have a way of repeating itself. And my people are going to continue to perish for the lack of knowledge. If you don't stand up and take a chance and fight, if you don't stand up and come together, don't you think it's going to happen again? When they were pushing, oh, well, everybody going back to the diaspora. Oh, we going back to Ghana. We going back to Nigeria. Who we? Who is we? Who do you think is pushing all of this? The colonization society. Okay? Taking indigenous people of the Americas and displacing them and putting them in Africa, giving them the illusion that's where they came from. There's nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun. The only difference is if they take you out of the US and you're from another part of America, at least they're not going to send you to Africa. You're still in America. See, that's the only difference now. You feel me? So each and every one of us, all over the Americas, we have to wake up and realize that we are one people, and we have to stand up and fight these demons. And of course, I'm not classifying every so-called pale individual in that category, because why? A lot of them, especially the lower echelons of society, they are struggling like everybody else, and they are being enslaved like everybody else. So this is not a general statement, but I'm talking about those that are so-called ruling powers. Those are the demons that I'm talking about. Satan, the adversary. And of course, when I say Satan, I'm not talking about what you were taught Satan is. Oh, well, the man with the pitchfork in hell with a red outfit with horns. No. All Satan means is adversary. Period. So let us read this again. Paul Perilus, the Rockland County man deported to Haiti, even though he is not a Haitian citizen, has hit yet another wall in his attempt to return to the U.S., where he had lived since he was at the age of 5. Perilous' application for humanitarian parole was recently denied. His last likely pathway home, President Biden can step in. Perilous and his team see precedent after all President Joe Biden pardoned his son Hunter Biden for actions that the family has long maintained are part of a drug scared past. Perilous' deportation appears to be linked to a drug offense more than 20 years ago. From 20 years ago, he was a teenager, right? Governor Kathy Hochul recently issued a pardon for that. I am asking for the same empathy and care to allow me to benefit from my pardon and to live in safety and dignity, said Perilous in a message to the U.S. network today. Today Network. That would happen if Biden used his power to grant the humanitarian parole Perilous needs, right? Perilous pointed to Biden's oft-cited belief in redemption and fairness. The president expressed compassion for his own son. Perilous said, Perilous, now 43. Okay, he got into this thing when he was he wasn't a teenager. He's 43, so he was in his early 20s. He was about between 20 and 23 years old, right? Financial planner is someone's sons and brother too. Perilous efforts have been supported by Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights, the National Immigration Justice Center, and the Haitian Bridge Alliance, as well as his family and home church, etc., etc. The Biden administration, through the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, at any time could grant humanitarian parole to this person, said Sarah, whatever. Deportation to Haiti. I want you to read the main ingredients of this story right here, okay? Perilous is literally a man without a country, just like Black people and African Americans, okay? We are not from Africa, and African American is not a country. So we are in the same predicament as this gentleman, but we don't see it. We don't see it. because we are not called illegal immigrants. Okay? Now, mind you, you are an immigrant in the United States, whether you believe it or not, because the United States is a corporation, and not just a corporation, it's a foreign corporation. So therefore, we are all illegals. We are all immigrants. We are all aliens to the United States because we are not United States citizens. So take it how you want. Take it with a grain of salt. Think you're different from this man, then you're going to learn the hard way. But like I said, I'm always ahead of my time, though, because I see what's coming. He was born in Saint Martin, a French territory in the Leeward Islands. He wasn't automatically a citizen because his parents weren't French nationals, but were citizens of Haiti at the time. He did not automatically inherit the Haitian citizenship through his parents. Now, this is how the French work. The French people are very strict, and they're very strategic when it comes to their citizenship. They don't just give it away the way the United States is giving away citizenship. So even if he was born on the French part of Saint Martin, he was not considered a French citizen because his parents were not. Guess what? They were not from. They were not French citizens. However, Haiti was colonized by France, and because France got beef with Haiti, they don't consider them French citizens as well. So he's not considered a Haitian, and he's not considered someone from Saint Martin. So all he knew was his life in New York. Okay? Let us read some more. His family settled in Spring Valley, which has the second largest Haitian population per capita in the U.S. His parents eventually earned U.S. citizenship. So therefore, his parents were U.S. citizens, so he was not considered an illegal alien. All right? In 2003, Perilous pled guilty to a drug charge and was given a stint in a minimum security boot camp, not even hard jail time, okay, in a boot camp that focuses on treatment and skill building. Perilous went to college and became a financial consultant. So the man was rehabilitated. The man paid his dues to society. It was just a minor drug charge. He wasn't killing people. Just like many of our young brothers and sisters that get caught up with drugs, but yet still they're still in jail doing hard time. Let us proceed. This is him right here. Obviously an American Aboriginal. Okay? Point what part of this man that don't look like any other American, indigenous American Indian walking around here. Don't he look like one of us, the copper-colored races? This man is a Taino. This man is an Arawak. All right? And who else, whatever other tribe, whether it's Olmecs, Maya, Aztec, the same people. All right? Meanwhile, he remained under supervision from U.S. immigration and checked in periodically, just for a little drug charge. His file contained documentation from both French and Haitian governments that confirmed he was what? Not a national of either country. None whatsoever. All right. In January 2021, during what appeared to be a routine check at an ICE field office in Federal Plaza in New York, Perilous was taken into custody. Now, mind you, who was in office then? Yeah, your boy Joe Biden. So he wasn't doing anything Trump wasn't doing. Trump is just a little more boisterous with it. He's a little more flamboyant with it, like I said, and a little more outspoken. As far as these people are concerned, we are all illegal aliens in our own land. But y'all want to play games with these people. Keep on playing the games. But like I said before, you're going to learn the hard way. Mind you, on January 19th, in the dwindling hours of the Trump administration, Perilous was walked towards a plane at JFK before being led away on the tarmac with no explanation and sent back to a holding facility in Louisiana. Weeks later, on February 2nd, with Biden now in the White House, Perilous was located on a deportation plane heading to Haiti. Okay, so we're not going to read the entire thing. But I just want to kind of give you again a premise of what was happening and what this young man, now an older man, okay, is facing and what he's dealing with. Now, a lot of you may say, well, Chief, why do I care? You don't have to care. I'm not asking you to care. All I'm asking you is, well, you know what? Let's put it this way. You don't have to care, but I'm asking you to care. Why? Because it's imperative that we realize that those are our peoples. Okay? We are one people. It's our people. And the morale or what we should stand on is if you touch one American, original indigenous American, if you touch one, you touch all. That should be our message. Because too many of us are facing the same thing. Whether you think you was born in the United States, the only difference is they cannot send you into the Caribbean. They're not, you know what I'm saying? They're not going to send you to Africa by force, but they will put you in jail. You see the difference? That's your exile, putting you in jail. And when they put you in jail based on the 14th Amendment, okay, then they could take away your citizenship and turn you into a slave. You see, it's all by design. It's all by design. All right, cool. So now that you see that this gentleman is being faced with this predicament, some of you may say it's warranted. Why is it warranted? Why is it warranted? But check this out. Let us proceed. And don't get me wrong, like the sister said, of course it's going to happen in its due time. I'm just here to plant those seeds. All right? Now check this out. Now that was a minor drug charge. The brother was, I'm barely 20 years old. All right? And he did not even get hard time because obviously it wasn't that serious. So he was put in the boot camp. The brother did his boot camp. He became a productive member of society. All right? And was producing in society. Never got in trouble again. But let us go and see the contrast with Joe Biden's son. What did Hunter Biden do? Let us read, because you see, reading is fun for the mental. Hunter Biden was awaiting sentencing later this month in two federal cases. Okay? Perilous case wasn't even federal because he did not do federal time. In June, he became the first child of a sitting U.S. president to be criminally convicted in a case relating to his gun ownership. He was found guilty by jury, okay, not by just a judge, by a jury in Delaware of 3 charges for lying about his drug use on a form when buying a handgun. He was also awaiting sentencing after pleading guilty. Now, he pled guilty in his own words in September in a federal tax case that centered on whether he paid enough tax from 2016 to 2019. The 9 charges included failure to file and pay his taxes, tax evasion, and filing a false tax return. Those are serious implications. He faced up to 25 years in prison in the gun case alone and 17 years in the tax case. Now, if you add 17 and 25, man, listen, I ain't no big mathematician, but that's what? That's 42 years in prison. 42 years in prison that Joe Biden's son was facing. Though he was likely to get much shorter tariffs and to serve the 2 sentences concurrently, meaning that, side by side, right, happening at the same time. Experts told the New York Times. All right. What is a presidential pardon? The U.S. Constitution decrees that the president has the broad power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the U.S. states, except in case of impeachment. All right. So with that being said, we know what the president has the authority to do. Okay. Now, Joe Biden pardoned his son. Right? We're not going to go into how many Biden has pardoned fewer people, but the bottom line is this. Joe Biden pardoned his son. So now a man that was facing gun charges, tax evasion, literally pled guilty in his own words. He was about to do over 40 something years hard time in federal prison. His father, the president, pardoned him. Now, let me ask you a question. Who's pardoning all our brothers and sisters that's in jail for all those minor drug cases? For when they were really going hard on marijuana, on weed, and they caught you with a roach and they gave you 10 years for a roach. And when I say roach, I'm not talking about a cockroach. You feel me? Who's the one pardoning our people? The thousands of them in there. Who's the one pardoning our brothers that's in jail paying for child support when they were actually active in their children's lives? But the mother wanted to be vindictive. Who's the one pardoning them and taking them out of jail for that? Who's the one taking them out of jail when they force you to have a driver's license? And because of child support, they revoke the driver's license and they catch you driving, they put you in jail. Who's the one pardoning our people for that? You see, if y'all don't want to step up and take control of our lives, then I promise you, man, it's going to be a sad day in this corporation called the United States. It's going to be a very, 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 man, listen, I don't even know how to stress it no more for y'all. But this is crazy. But we're going to continue because it is the colonization society that's all in play. They are still in effect. And we're about to break some things down and we're about to get into this. So do me a favor, man. Go ahead, get a pen, get a pad, or you could go ahead and, take your notes, all right, after, because we're going to get into some things, all right, because I'm telling you, the same people that's here penalizing and criminalizing or putting our people in jail for these so-called criminal crimes, these crimes, they're the same people you have to go ask for forgiveness. The same people that's putting drugs in our communities, the same people that's poisoning our foods, the same people that's putting chemtrails in our sky to block the sun and create fake clouds and all these different things. Those are the same people we have to go ask for forgiveness, to pardon us. The same people that's putting guns in Chicago, that's putting guns in the hoods in New York, in trailers, abandoned. Oh, well, let me say this. Allegedly. Okay? Allegedly. They're the ones putting the guns in containers in our neighborhoods. And of course, these little young thugs, they find it and then they use it against each other. Do you think that's not strategic? Do you think it's not planned? You people have no idea what you're dealing with when you're dealing with these foreign entities. They will kill you. They will murder you. Okay? Allegedly. You're talking about a system of people that go into different countries and kill people because they feel they could do that. Just because people don't agree with their policies. Y'all think it's a game out here. But like I said before, y'all going to learn. And that lesson that you're going to learn is going to come with bloodshed. Okay? It's going to come with bloodshed. Now, why is all of this important? Let me see who else is on the live now. We have Jarrell Clement, what it is, lineage. We have Mikkel. I think it's Mikkel. All right. Labadi, I think. All right. Big up yourself. We have Kick Rock, Supreme Health. Who else do we have? I think that's who we have. I'm just giving a few shout outs as we go along, as I see people come on the bill. All right. I know there was someone else. Okay. There was a sister I seen. Of course, we have Big Chief. What it is, Big Chief. We have the Nature 477. Greetings, lineage. Welcome to the build. All right. We're just getting started. We might be on here for a couple of hours. All right. All right. So what we're going to do now, we're going to make sense out of nonsense right now. Okay. We're going to make sense out of nonsense right now. This is what we're going to do. So how is all this being tied in? And what does Liberia have to do with all of this? Trust me, there's always a madness to everything that I do. And it's all going to come into fruition. It's all going to come into 360. I'm going to bring it back home with a home run. All right? Now check this out. And do me a favor, please. Get a pen, get a pad, do some math. Do some math in as we go along, because it just don't add up. Now check this out. The majority of the enslaved Africans brought to the British North America arrived between 1720 and 1780. Okay? Now let's really focus on that real quick. The majority of the so-called slaves that came from Africa, and I'm saying so-called because we know that this whole transatlantic slave trade, it did not happen the way they said it was. And I proved to you the Atlantic slave trade was not about us. And I did a video about that. The true Atlantic slave trade was about the Slavs, the pale slaves that came here in the 1800s through Ellis Island, over 12 million of them. Those are the true slaves. All right, but that's another video. I did a video on that before. I'm certainly sure I'll touch it again. But the majority of them, so-called Africans, came here between 1720 and 1780. All right, now pay attention to the dates. Pay attention to the dates. All right. But however, the colony of Liberia was set up in the early 1800s. So we are literally talking about less than 100 years. Less than 100 years that they took so-called slaves from Africa that came into the United States and different parts of the Americas, and they sent them back to Africa in Liberia in the 1800s. Now, mind you, man, like I said, man, don't play with me, man, because I'm not the one. I know my joint. And that's why I don't deal with belief systems. I deal with the knowing. Okay? The transatlantic slave trade was most active between 1700 and 1808, when a merchant transported around 40% of enslaved Africans in the British and American ships. Now, we know that's a bunch of BS, but we're just going to leave it for what it is, right? The transatlantic slave trade reached its peak between 1750 and 1850, with an estimated average about 74,000 slaves brought to the Americas each year. All right? That's what they are saying. Now, we're going to stop here. Pay attention to the dates. 1720 to 1880. All right? That was the height. To the 1780. That was the height of bringing so-called African slaves. And it went up all the way to 1850. So even before wild slaves. Now, pay attention to what I'm saying here now. Okay? The peak, 1750 and 1850. But yet still in 1820, they were sending back so-called African slaves into Liberia from the United States and different parts of the America. Somebody please let the math up, if that makes sense. Let the math do some mathing for me. Why would you be importing slaves from Africa in the peak of slavery, but at the same time, you are taking so-called Africans who came from Africa, sending them to Liberia in 1820? But we're in the peak of it all the way up to 1850. Another thing that begs the question as to, well, how is it possible that, and I did a video on that, but I also broke it down in my book, Genesis to Reevaluation. Y'all just got to get that book. I can't stress it enough. Go to the website, www.myniji.com. It's in the link below. It's on the screen. You see it. Get the book. You need that book in your library. I promise you do. Because I also talk about hockey. Hockey was literally invented and created, by so-called black people in Nova Scotia in Canada. But yet still it was invented in the height of slavery. So you're trying to tell me Africans who came from Africa in this hot-ass sun, they came into the snow, and 2 years later, they invented hockey? The math is not mathing. Okay, it's not mathing. But let us proceed. Let us proceed. We're going to close this out. And then we're going to read the story of America, Liberia. All right? Let's go read into that. But like I said, I did a video on that a few years ago. And we're going to get into it again because it's important. All right? It's important just for the purpose of this lesson. Here we go. Liberia, or Liberian people. For those of you who have not, you haven't heard about it, like I said, I did a video on that 5 years ago. I broke it down, and for the purpose of this video, because it all ties in. Because you see everything that's happening right now with what Biden and Trump are doing with so-called illegal aliens and all that. And I'm not talking about this what you call this mestizos and nah. Listen, I'm a humanitarian. I care about people, period. But my main focus is our people right now. You see, self-preservation is the number one thing. We have to focus on the original indigenous Americans. That's my main focus right now, because if we can't save ourselves, we can't save anybody else. So that's my focus. That is my focus. So you'll see how it all ties in, because it's the American colonization society. They are the ones that's behind ICE and all these different things. Trust me, man. People just don't know. But let us read. Americo-Liberian people. Americo-Liberian people, also known as Congo people or Conga people, are a Liberian ethnic group of African American, Afro-Caribbean, and liberated African origin. Right? So you see, once again, they called us Afro-Caribbean as well. So we were all dealing with Afros, but Afro is not an African thing. Afro is an American thing. You feel me? But we are just so quick to just put Afro. Anytime you hear Afro, you think African. No, it's not. Afro is an American thing. But that's neither here or there. Let us continue reading, because right now we're going to break down some things about this whole colony that was set up in Liberia. Okay? Americo-Liberians trace their ancestry to freeborn and formerly enslaved African Americans who immigrated in the 19th century to become the founders of the state of Liberia. So hence, Liberia was a state that was founded, a corporation that was founded by so-called African Americans. Now, I promise you, they know they are not from Africa. They know they are not from Africa. But we're going to continue reading. They identified themselves as Americo-Liberians. Although the term Americo-Liberian and Congo had distinct definitions in the 19th century, they are currently interchangeable and refer to an ethnic group composed of the descendants of various free and enslaved African American, Caribbean, recaptive, and Sierra Leone Creoles who are settled in Liberia from 1822. Okay, hold up, I went too far down. Give me 1 second. 1822. Let me come back up here. 1822. Now, oh, come on, man. Don't piss me off here. All right, go down. 1822. Now, pay attention. Like I said, the math is not mathing up. Now, if they were sent into Liberia and settled in Liberia in 1822, but at the same time, Africans were coming from Africa all the way up until 1850 in the height of slavery, in the peak of slavery. Why would you be taking so-called slaves who came from Africa, from the Americas, not just the United States, the Americas, period, and sending them into Africa to create a colony? But you need slaves. Man, can somebody in the comment tell me what's wrong with this picture here? Because I'll wait for a little response, because I want this to be interactive. Can anybody tell me, make this make sense? Anybody in the comment, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, let it make sense for me, please. Because in the height of slavery, all the way up to 1850, you're trying to tell me that, you need slaves. There's a demand for slaves, but you are taking slaves out of the Americas and sending them into Africa, but you need slaves? Man, you see the lie that we were fed? You see the lie that we were told? Our people were already here. No damn Africans came here. And if any Africans came here, it's no more than 300,000, period. And I'm talking about in the entire duration of this so-called slave trade. No more than 300,000. And guess what? The majority of them came from Europe. They were already Europeans. It's a lie. It's a lie. Let us proceed. We're going to continue sharing the screen because we're going to dive a little deeper into this Liberia colony that was set up by our indigenous brothers and sisters that was sent to Liberia. The designation Congo for the Americo-Liberia population came into common usage when these African Americans integrated 5,000 liberated African called Congo former slaves from the Congo Basin who were freed by British and Americans from slave ships after the prohibition of African slave trade, and 500 Barbadian immigrants, meaning that from Barbados, into Liberia identity. Under Americo-Liberian leadership, the country was relatively stable, though the Americo-Liberians and indigenous West Africans maintained largely separate existence and seldom intermarried. Now, let me ask you a question. You see, this is why when you study and you read, first, before you do any type of research, you have to search. I hear people say, well, I'm going to research, but you haven't searched. All right? Go look up, like I said, I've done videos 4 or 5 years ago on this, but we are going into a whole different atmosphere with this right now, right? Now, do you see the terminology? It says the Americo-Liberians and what? The indigenous West Africans. In other words, our people were not indigenous to Africa. That's not where they came from. They were not considered Africans. Now, mind you, the height of the slavery was in the up to 1850. So that means that the people that they sent back to Africa, they had just came from Africa, if we believe the narrative. But of course, in the word believe is the word lie. So if we believe the narrative that they came from Africa, it means that as soon as they got here, in less than 50 years later, they were being sent back. But yet still more was coming in. That just doesn't make sense. So how could they have forgotten their language in less than 50 years? That's 2 generations. Because most people don't know what a generation is. A generation is only 20 to 25 years for a woman and 25 to 30 years for a man. So we are talking about in less than 2 generations, you're trying to tell me these Africans that came from Africa, they came into the United States and sent back to Africa, they forgot their language? They forgot their culture? We are talking about a father and a son. And not just even a father and a son, a father, because a generation for a man is 25 to 30 years. Now look at this gentleman right here. This gentleman right here who is an Americo-Liberian, he is Edward Wilmot Blyden. Look, he looked like he's in his 50s or his 60s. So he outlived a generation or 2. So you're trying to tell me this man went into Africa. He came from Africa, came into the US, forgot his language, and in less than 50 years, he went back to Africa, and he could not speak any of the languages? Yeah, all right. Yeah, I was born at night, but trust me, I wasn't born last night. Okay? But that's in 1822. So let us read now. Where we at? The Congo, that on the Americo-Liberia. And now, so check this out. African women, West Africans, were not marrying our people because we were not the same. Different culture, different people, different languages, different identity. One was an American Indian, one was an African. In addition to indigenous Liberian elites, you hear the difference between the Americo-Liberia and the indigenous Liberians? There's a distinction. Chiefs and royalty, upper class Americo-Liberians led the political, social, cultural, and economic sectors of the country and ruled the new state from 1800s all the way to 1880 as a small but dominant minority, because that's our nature. Wherever we go, we are going to be dominant because we are the wild Indians of the forest, man. So we conflict with these people. because we are not a subservient people. We don't have the same nature as Africans. Okay? That is not us. We would rather die than be enslaved. But the only difference is our people don't know they're enslaved today. They don't know that. But let us proceed. However, President William Tubman challenged the status quo and championed the cause of the tribes of the interior against establishment oligarchy, history, and settlement. Americo-Liberians were descendant from African-American and Afro-Caribbean settlers. Okay? Of course, when they say American, they're talking about just the United States. But yet still, most of the Caribbean is in North America, right? But we're going to continue to read the BS. It's called Divide and Conquer. Many of whom were freed slaves, and the descendants were immigrated to Liberia with assistance from the American whom? Colonization Society. Now look at the acronym for American Colonization Society, right? And when they come take your children from your home, who come get your children? ACS. Now they may give it a different meaning, but it's still ACS. You see, you don't realize all this is dealing with the American Colonization Society. Why does ACS have the same acronym as American Colonization Society? Well, some people say, oh, well, Chief, you know what? It's different. It's not the same. No, it is the same premise. Taking indigenous children from one place and putting them to another place. It is the same concept. But that's going to go over a lot of heads. It's going to go over a lot of heads. But we'll get into ACS as in child care protection services. All right, we'll get into that soon. Right now, we'll focus on the ACS, the Colonization Society, that's responsible for that created ICE, okay, that's taking indigenous people and shipping them from indigenous territories, making them think that they're illegal. And if y'all don't think it's a problem, wait and see. Check this out. The first so-called Black American settlers, you hear that? Settlers, not indigenous people going back home. Settlers arrived in Liberia in 1822. Now, we just went over the math, and the math is not mathing up, because all the way up to 1850, it was in the height of slavery, importing slaves, so-called slaves from Africa. Why in the hell are you sending people out of the Americas, slaves, so-called slaves out of the Americas into Africa, but at the same time you're taking from Africa and bringing here? That don't make sense. The ACS, okay, American Colonization Society plan of encouraging so-called Black American migration to Africa was met with mixed response at the same time. Some members of the abolitionist movement, such as Garrett Smith, opposed the idea, arguing that African-American families had lived in the United States for generations, and their prevailing sentiment was that they were no more African than white Americans were Europeans. So in other words, they're making the claim and statement that so-called white Europeans are now Americans. And also at the same time saying that these so-called ex-African slaves should be Americans as well. When the truth of the matter is we are the original American and we are the only American. Don't get the United States confused with an American. Okay? Other historians have argued that the so-called white American, I'm not going to say Americans, they're not Americans. Okay? So-called white United States citizens encouraged the immigration of people of color to Africa due to their opposition to integration. Additionally, some slave owners manumitted some of their slaves on the condition of immigration. All right. Now, what does that term mean? Let's highlight that to see exactly what it means. It means, okay, manumission of enchasement is the act of freeing slaves by their owners. All right, so that's what it means. Provided that they would agree to become an immigrant to an African country. That was the term and condition of getting freedom. However, other African Americans believed they would face better economic opportunities in Africa and be free from the racial prejudice, a sentiment that was endorsed by what? Back to Africa movement. You see, it was all a plot. It was all a scheme. As so-called Black Americans, immigration to Liberia continued steadily into the mid to late 19th century. The movement gained support from assortment of influential figures, including UN UNIA President Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was a damn sellout. He's not my hero. He should not be a hero to Jamaicans, because Jamaica was called Jamaica, and Jamaica was the original place of the indigenous Arawaks and Tainos and some Caribs, which are the same people, just different names. They are not Africans, but they were taught that they were Africans the same way our brothers and sisters in the United States were taught that they came from Africa. Okay? So Marcus Garvey is no hero of mine. He's a sellout. And his soul is going to rot in hell for what he did to his people, did to the original people of the Americas. Now, Marcus Garvey would go on to become the president of the Black Star Line, which encouraged immigration and economic shipping, commerce between the United States and Liberia. The early African American settlers who arrived in the region that was established as Liberia between 1820 and 1843, mind you, slavery was still going on, right? Were mainly what? Free blacks from Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia, while smaller numbers came from northern states like Jersey, New York, Delaware, and Connecticut. Subsequent movements also concluded immigrants, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Florida. Those were original indigenous American Indians that was taken into Africa in the 1800s. Now you see the ship right here, right? From Marcus Garvey. The Liberian Exodus saw mass immigration from African Americans from South Carolina to Liberia. Congressman Richard H. Kane called for 1 million men to leave the injustice they suffered in the United States and leave for Africa. In 1877, the Liberian Exodus Joint Stock, Steamboat Company was formed in Charleston, South Carolina, with a fund of what? $6,000. In 2023, that would have been $158,449 to assist the emigration of Black Americans to Africa. Okay, now they would rather fund money, millions of dollars in it by now, if they could, to send our people to Africa, not back to Africa, but to Africa, because we never came from Africa, than to acknowledge us as who we are in our land, because we are so divided, we're not coming together. The company then purchased a bark called the Azar, which arrived in Charleston in March of 1878 to start shipping African American migrants to Liberia. Enthusiasm for the Liberian exodus had been fed partly by exaggerated reports of Liberia's fertility, including claims that the potatoes grew so large that a single one could feed a family for a day, and that certain trees produce bacon. That's what our people was falling for. All right? Trees producing bacon. However, 23 of the immigrants died during the journey, and upon arrival, the passengers discovered that these claims were not true, and many found themselves impoverished. And now let me ask you, if they lied to our people about that going back to Africa, what makes you think they wouldn't lie about us already being here? Those who could afford it returned to the U.S. in 1879, and plans for a second voyage by the Liberian Exodus Company were scrapped. However, passengers from the Azores who stayed did find success and established themselves as some of the most prominent Americo-Liberians, including farmer and agricultural businessman Saul Hill, Liberian Senator Reverend David Frazier, and Daniel Frank Talbot, who was the grandfather of future Liberian President William R. Talbot. Okay? The American Navy was responsible for the recapture of illegal slaves vessels seeking to transport enslaved Africans to the Americas following the American abolition of the slave trade in 1808. These enslaved Africans, called liberated Africans or recaptives, many of whom were from the Congo Basin, were designated as Congos, and all recaptures, including those from modern-day Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana, were described in the Congos. Anyway, we don't have to read anymore. But it says, although the number of Afro-Caribbean immigrants to Liberia was relatively small in comparison to the colonial Sierra Leone, at least 300 Afro-Barbadians settled in Liberia in 1865, and smaller numbers of Afro-Caribbean immigrants settled in Liberia between 1865 and 1930 from the Caribbean islands such as Trinidad, Jamaica, and Grenada. Okay? Now check this out. The early African-American settlers did not relate well to the native African inhabitants they first encountered in Liberia due to what cultural differences, and soon began to establish a social and economic elite in the country. Now, let me ask you a question. Like I said, in less than 50 years, this so-called African-Americans came from Africa, brought on slave ships from Africa, and came into the Americas. And in less than 50 years, they were sent back into Africa. So you're trying to tell me in less than 50 years, how much forgetting can one person do where you forgot your language and your culture, where it seems foreign to real Africans, to indigenous Africans? Man, listen, man. The math is not adding up. The math is not adding up. So there were internal wars because these Africans knew that these people were not Africans. According to the Black Past, they retained preferences for Western style of dress because we were not the same people. All right? Now check this out. The food was different. The religious concept or religious or spiritual concept was different. The English language and the monogamous kinship practices. Demographically, the American Liberians tended to concentrate in larger cities and towns, while native Africans, you hear that, native Africans, remained in more poorly developed areas before the two groups started to intermingle in the 20th century. Because we always came from a culture, all right, where we were an advancing people, a highly civilized society. You feel me? So we're going to stop here now. Boom. We're going to stop here. And we're going to go into another all right. Let me and I'll get into the comments soon enough. And we'll like I said, this is interactive. So we building today. All right, like we always do. We always building. All right. So our people are now distracted with Jay-Z and P. Diddy and all these different things, and Beyonce and Sexy. It's Sexy Red and Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj and all. You see, it is all a distraction because they know our people love entertainment. All right, because entertainment is a huge part of our culture. Okay, it is a huge part of our culture. All right, now check this out. In the 1800s, indigenous Liberians, you hear the difference? Indigenous Liberians generally did not welcome Americo-Liberians, freed slaves from America who settled in Liberia, often resisting in their attempts to settle on their land and viewing them with suspicion due to the cultural differences. It was their land. So I'm not mad at them. I'm not mad at them. It was their land. It was not ours. We are not from Africa. We were never from Africa. And the Americo-Liberians' attempts to impose their Western values, it wasn't Western values, it was American indigenous values and societal structures, which often included discrimination and marginalization against the indigenous population. Anytime you put two conflicting groups together, different cultures, different identities, they're going to conflict. Because one is known as a settler imposing on that other indigenous land. This led to conflict and tension between the two groups. Don't let nobody fool you with the nonsense. Now, you may ask, well, Chief, why is all this important? Or what's the relevance to the gentleman, Pierre Relais, that you spoke of earlier? We'll bring it into fruition in 1 second. Let us go here now. All right, let's go here now. We're going to share this. Now think about what I'm showing you right here. Check this out. What does ACS means? Like I said, man, I tell my people, man, I'm always ahead of my time, man. You know, it's just the way my mind works. You feel me? Because my mind is always outside the box. And when you're in the box, you only see what's in the box. My mind is always outside of the box. You feel me? Even if I'm within the box. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that a beautiful thing? Now check this out. ACS, the American Colonization Society, was a so-called white-led organization founded in 1816 to relocate free black people and emancipated slaves to Africa. Now hold up. It says free black people and emancipated slaves. Now, shouldn't someone that's emancipated be freed? So why is the distinction here? Man, I tell you, man, I love to read, man. Reading is fun for the mental, man. I'm telling you, this gets me high. This gets me high. November gave it 5 years since I've been celibate. 5 years in November. I love it. All I do is study. Study. Stick to myself. Protect my energy. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. That's another video. What does that have to do with anything? Nothing at all. I just came to mind because it just gave me the time and the motivation not to be distracted by anything or anyone, not to be vibrating in my lowest self. Even sometimes when you're in a relationship, it's even good to be celibate within your own relationship. Take time to step up away from the lowest self and do a detox. I'm telling you. But anyway, that's another story. That's another video, right? But ACS, the American Colonization Society. Now that's ACS. All right. Let me stop sharing now. Let's go to another form of ACS. Now, what was the American colonization responsible for? Taking indigenous Americans out of their natural original habitat, okay, and sending them to a place that is unfamiliar, that they don't belong, into another territory, into another home. Now let us go look at the other ACS. Why is it the same acronym? Some people may think it's well, Chief, it's a coincidence. No, it's not. No, it's not. Okay? ACS. Now, if I were to tell you ACS take people from their homes without making a distinction between the American Colonization Society and the Administration for Children's Services, how would you know what I'm talking about? Because they both do the same thing. It takes children from parents when they believe. In the word believe is lie. When they believe, after investigating report that the child at the immediate risk of abuse or neglect. Wasn't that the same thing that happened in the 1800s? The original indigenous American, they were being abused and they were neglected. So what happened? ACS came and what? Took them out of their natural home and put them in another home that's not theirs as foster children. Man, listen, man, I have to laugh, man, because it is just so amazing the way the mind works when you could just see things for exactly what they are. Now, let me ask you a question or a few questions. You may be asking, Chief, what does it have to do with the first part of the video with this gentleman that was born in St. Martin? And then his parents were Haitians. So now he's stateless. Because why? Because he's not from St. Martin, because of the way the French work. He's not Haitian because he wasn't born in Haiti. And he was not an illegal in the United States because his parents were citizens. But yet still he was able to be sent to Haiti. Isn't that the same thing they did to our ancestors in the 1800s? Send them to Africa, a place they never been, a place they have no association with, a place they was not a national of. Don't you think it's going to happen again? Did I do a lesson and a video and show you about when they did the movie Civil War, asking about what kind of American are you? I don't know how many of you remember. I did a video with a sister. She was teaching in some place or something was happening, and the police came, and she said she was a Moor. And you know what the police said? Well, we'll take you back to Africa. Y'all think this is a game? I showed you the clip. I gave it to you. So when we are here calling ourselves African Americans and Black, go into the census and see exactly where someone who's African American and someone who's Black, and see where they are from. Okay? No land in Africa. Just some place in Africa. They have no nationality. They have no identity. They don't have a country. So when this thing really hits the fan and they ask you what kind of American are you, and you say African American, I promise you it's not going to end well. If you say Black, it's not going to end well. Why are we waiting for that to happen when we could be proactive and come together and stand on our principles, on our birthright as who we are as the original indigenous peoples of this land? Huh? Now, with that being said, let us go look at the etymology of the word census. Y'all think this is a game, huh? Y'all think this is a game? All right. Keep playing these games and keep staying distracted. Y'all gonna learn. And all y'all want to do on Facebook is post about Jay-Z and Beyonce and P. Diddy and all the, you know, the Little Reds and, you know, the Booty Brown and who else? What you call it? Or everything else. There's no reason why I should be on Facebook. And the only things I see is what people talking about. It's time to unite as indigenous people. We shouldn't be seeing anything else. There's no such thing as a Black Indian. Even if American Indian is a misnomer, yes, it is. It's a misnomer because we did not call ourselves American Indians. However, politically, that's our identity. And it's within law and it's within treaties. So I say don't give it up. That's what we used to stand and fight with until we decide this is what we want to be known as if we choose something differently. Okay? Moor is not our nationality. Moor is not a nationality. There's no damn country called Moor. Stop the nonsense, man. Stop the nonsense. But that's another video, which I'll get into. Okay? Moorish American is not a nationality. There's no country called Moorish. And the suffix ish, it became meaning to be kind of something like. Just like Jewish, Blackish. Stop the nonsense. Y'all can get into your emotions if you want to. I don't care. I'm not here for the nonsense and the games, man. Now let us go into the etymology of the word census. Census, 1610. Although you know, we could go a little further, but we're going to start here. In reference to what registration and taxation in Roman history. That's what the census is really for. The enrollment of names and property, assessments of all Roman citizens, originally past participle of sincere to assess. You feel me? That happened, it started, the first one in 1790 in the United States. And our people were not part of the census because why? We were a distinct, separate people, still being identified as American Indians. So we did not have to participate in the census. Y'all better stop playing with me. Now, why do you think, for the same purpose, The Lord God in the Bible, the Lord God in the Bible, mind you what I'm saying, the Lord God in the Bible commanded Moses and David and whoever, okay, to take a census of the Israelites. Now hold up. If God in the Bible, the Lord God in the Bible is all knowing, why do you need a census to know how many Israelites there was? See, that was a form of control and to tax their ass. That had nothing to do with a sky daddy. It had nothing to do with a sky daddy. All this is part of the same system that's being played over and over and over again. Whether it's from a religious perspective, a political perspective, they're all the same thing. It's all the same thing. Why did I bring up the census? Because the census provides vital information, okay, to control people, to place people in different classism, different categories, to know which community to give what and who to bless, so-called blessed or not. I don't want to be blessed. This is nothing new, man. It is the same script being revised or being rewrapped, pretty much. It's like every so-called Christmas, you know, somebody want to give their father the same sweater, but in a different gift wrap. And the father, man, that's the same sweater I got 2 years ago. But he takes it because he don't want to offend his children. All they did was put it in a different color wrapper. It's the same thing that's happening to our people. It's the same trick being pulled over our heads over and over again. It is just presented in a different light, in a different way, in a different box. So, with that being said, okay, don't think, sometimes, when you drop in certain information, they tend to kind of like cut the audio on and off. You know what I'm saying? But they can't stop this. All right. So with that being said, bringing back all of this into a 360, using that gentleman, all right, I spoke of in the beginning of the video, into a 360. That is just his situation happening on a macro scale. Okay, on a micro scale, not a macro, on a micro scale. Because don't think, because you think you call yourself a so-called Black American or African American, you are exempt from being exiled. It happened in the 1800s. The colonization society is still here and active. ACS, whether it's in the form of taking indigenous people and sending them to different parts of the Americas or Africa, or coming into your home and taking your children and putting them in foster cares. In the system, it's a foreign system. It is still colonization. It is the same thing. So when this thing truly hit the fan and the guns are pulled out and they ask you what kind of American you are, go ahead and say African American or Black and see what happens. Y'all think I don't know what I'm talking about? Think I don't know what I'm talking about? It's going to happen again. And it will continue to happen over and over and over until we learn, if we learn. So in conclusion, how is that Joe Biden pardoned his son, but our brothers and sisters are still rotting in jail? I'm going to ask you again. How is that Joe Biden, an immigrant, a foreigner, an occupier? He is not an American. He's a United States citizen. Why is he able to pardon his son, but original indigenous Americans are not getting pardons from the jail cells, the holes that they're in? Do you know many of our children are rotting in jail right now for minor offenses by these pale-skinned Europeans? And of course, this has nothing to do with color, but they are the ones they are the gatekeepers right now. even if I know otherwise, because I know who's truly running this. That is the question. Who is standing up for us? Who is fighting for us? Who is defending our birthright? Who is pardoning us when the same system that's creating the problem, they are the ones giving the solution? Same thing in the Bible. The Lord God is the one creating the damn problems, but yet still he's the one trying to create the solution. It's nothing new under the sun. It's nothing new under the sun. What do you think? Why do you think they have God? In God we trust on their money. Do you know what God really means? When we take it out of the context of what it's supposed to mean, God means governmental ordinance departments that deal with codes, ordinances, and citations and all these different things. Man, I'm done. I'm done. And then you have sellouts calling people coons and all type of stuff like Umar Johnson and all of them. They want you to be African so bad. They want you to be black so bad. This dude is an agent. He's an agent. Okay? He's an agent, but people don't realize that. And agents, the devil's advocates, always come with the swift tongue. Make things sound real good. I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm here to make you uncomfortable. I'm here to make you uncomfortable. I'm not here to make you feel good. You want to feel good? Go have sex. I'm not here to have sex. I'm here to have intercourse, but not sexual intercourse. It's a difference. I'm here to have mental intercourse. All right? That's it. Period. Of course. You know? So anyway, I'm about to get out of here, man. I love y'all. I see they're giving me a little situation on Facebook, like, you know, I'm getting a little glitch on Facebook. It's all right though. Because, you know, when you come with the truth, that's always going to happen. It's always going to happen. You know, it's too much information. You know what I'm saying? Too much information. Chief is dropping too much right now. So, you know, all of a sudden, I'm having situations on Facebook. Man, I tell you, this is crazy, man. This is crazy. But it's all love, though. It's all love. My peoples, I love y'all, man. You know, for real. You know what? And today or tomorrow, guess what? I could be in the same predicament because I was not born in the U.S., but I was born in North America. You see what I'm saying? So if they decide, hey, you know what? You come with your gun, your big gun and your big tank, and oh well, Chief, you know what? You're talking too much. We look at you as a threat to the corporation. You know, we're gonna send you back. Where are you gonna send me back? Send me back to Dominica? Okay, I'm still in America. Please do. you feel me? Because this is ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. We gotta stand up. Why don't we have our own political parties? We could do that. We are not being represented, but yet still they're taxing us. Taxation without representation. Isn't that what they fought their independence for from Britain? Man, listen, man. I'm about to get out of here, man. I may or may not do another video later. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I got some more information to drop for y'all, but I just wanted to kind of like come and share that and go a little bit more in detail and give some more information that's pertinent to our situation right now. You feel me? Because when we go back to the first census, like I said, our people were not participating in the United States Census because that is not our thing. We had nothing to do with that. You feel me? Nothing whatsoever to do with that. You did. And we were a distinct people. We were still at that time being called and being identified as American Indians. So we had our own system. We had our own governments, right? But all that changed once we started integrating, once we started wanting to be part of that colonization society. We wanted to be a part of that. So we can't blame anybody else for that. We cannot blame anybody else for that. And we can't be mad at the Native Americans for using an opportunity to replace us. We can't be mad at them for that. Okay? We can't be mad at them for that. As a matter of fact, you know what? I will do another video today. Let me just put some stuff together for y'all. All right? So I'm about to conclude this. We'll talk soon. And I already gave pretty much almost everybody a shout out, but we'll see. Red Rising came on, Zazie came on. Big up yourself. Who else do we have? Mahogany X came on. Natasha came on. Big up yourself. You know what I mean? Who else do we have that I didn't give a shout out? Hold up. Okay, it says. And somebody says, I am so righteous. Let me see. I am so righteousness. You know, said that. I want to highlight this. All right. We are the so-called Jews. We are the so-called we are the so-called Jews and Israelites. Man, listen, all that stuff is made up as well. All right. There is not just one Israelite. Okay, trust me. The people who call themselves Israelites right now, they are actually Israelites as well. But people don't know what all that means. So I don't even get into the semantics of these things. I broke it all down in my book, Genesis to Reevaluation. We are everything and we are nothing. Okay? We are everything and we are nothing. Period. Because we are not the flesh. All right. So I'll just leave it as that. If we really want to get technical, you feel me? So that's just what it is. So like I said, go to the website www.myniche.com and get the book. Jin Insists to Reevaluation. Book 1 is the foundation. All right. Definitely want to you want to have that in your collection. Even Facebook is giving me some problems trying to, but it's all good though. It is what it is. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Enjoy the rest of your continuation. And like I said, we'll get into this is funny, right? I guess I'm dropping too much information. I'm automatically what you would call it, logged in on my phone onto my Facebook, right? All of a sudden, I'm dropping this video. I cannot log into my Facebook on my phone. It's asked me to now put in my password, and I never had to do that. But you see, that's when you know you're dropping what you're dropping. All right. How ironic is that? You think these gatekeepers are easy? No, they're not. They're not easy, man. They're not easy. That's what it is. At one time, I was dropping so much information on Facebook. You know what they did? They restricted my account and they asked me, okay, to identify myself. So I had to send in documents, all right, to identify myself. These gatekeepers are not easy. They're not easy, but it's all right. Enjoy the rest of your continuation, and we'll talk soon. Love y'all.